Aloha everyone, welcome to The Art of Life. My name is Jennifer Espenscheid and I have been a professional artist my entire life, and creativity is one of my favorite topics. It breaks my heart when I hear that people don't think they're creative. And by being human, we are intrinsically creative. We are the one animal now that we know of that can combine our body, mind, and actually have ideas come in, design them with our mental capacities, and then physically create them. We'll do some unpacking around the labels and what we think an artist actually is and who is creative. This can be across the board, making meals, solving problems, creating our schedules, flowing through our day. All of this is extremely either mundane or it can be highly creative. So part of that is a mindset switch. And part of my passion now through this podcast and coaching is to help everyone remember and uncover their innate creativity. So intentional creating and what we label as creative, I think needs a deeper unpacking. So when you look up synonyms for creativity, because that word is used a lot now, we'll get things like cleverness, genius, imagination, creativeness, ingenuity, inspiration, inventiveness, originality, resourcefulness, and talent, and even vision. Let's dive a little bit deeper into that. And then at the end of our talk, we're going to go over 6 steps to uncovering your creativity and finding and tapping into that artist that is intrinsically you. So stick around for that. But first, let's come to a bit of an understanding of this. So the origin of the word creativity can be traced back to the Latin word creo, and even earlier to the Sanskrit word kar, K-A-R, which means to produce, to generate, or to make. The word creativity was actually coined in 1859, but the root goes back much further than that. Creativity is often linked to intelligence, adaptability, and artistic imagination. It's also an important part of innovation and invention. So once again, we're inventing things all day long. I like to be especially creative and tap into that when I'm doing things for the 10 millionth time, right? Doing the dishes, taking the same route to a place that I've been 100 times, maybe taking a different route, brushing my teeth with my left hand, doing things that move my mind in a different way, and new ideas come in. I'm now approaching these from a different angle and really self-designing some interest into everything, being extra mindful. And we'll get in more into mindfulness in a few minutes. So I believe that humans are creative, and it's those 3 parts of us. There's many psychologists that will talk about the different parts of humans. I look at the 3 main parts and then also our masculine and feminine energies, but it's that body, mind, and spirit. And when I unite them, I find that I am much more able to drop into my flow, and that's when the magic really happens. So we are, and not AI yet, the animal that knows that we have a spirit and has defined these different things. And so there was a separation earlier on in this century of the body, mind, and spirit, and now I think there's a coming together again. And it's in those magical moments that we are this ultimately creative creature. And so if you think you aren't creative, I'm really excited for you to take some of this information into consideration, because I know you are. And in that act of joining and creating, we are essentially divine. I know a lot of us had our power taken away over the last several hundred years, and now it's coming back. The divinity, the creator part, was stripped from being human. It was the creation happened to us, and now we're really understanding that we are the ones that make a difference in our health across the board. So as humans, one of the focal points of being creative is that we are survivors. So there's a challenge, and our spirit kind of is called to action, and we have this imaginative process. How can we solve this challenge? and then our mind will pick one. Sometimes, often, actually, we're in survival mode, so we might pick something that is fight or flight. And when we can step back and really take into consideration and take a few breaths, this challenge, whatever it is, maybe it's a budget, maybe it's how I'm going to trim this plant, maybe it's how I can make a meal that's great for my kids and for me and for whoever's visiting. It is often how I'm going to approach the design for a client. It could be any number of things, but I'm going to take a few breaths and unite all of those faculties and decide what really is the best way. And oftentimes I'll see a vision, or I will come upon a clear path. It's lighter than all the rest, it's fresher. So that's where the spirit and mind are coming together. And then with our mental tools, we're going to start laying out the groundwork for that. So how are we going to bring that to fruition? We might start scheduling something. We might get the ingredients for something. We're going to be looking at timelines. We're going to be using all the processes that we've learned. Right? So our mind is bringing everything into focus. And then now our physicality, we can either type the email, we can pick up the phone and call someone or see someone now. We can build that piece of art, we can make that meal, we can get ourselves to work and to play. And so in that creativity, with that kind of thing as a definition, and problem solving is a definition, or challenge or solutions, you can see how you are actually the artist of your life. You are creating all day long. I'm hearing more and more often, and maybe it's because of my maturity, and maybe it's because of all the devices people are using, but I'm hearing more and more often that I'm just not creative, or I wish I was creative like you, or I used to be creative. I can feel people's pain. It's a stuckness, it's a craving, it's wanting what I feel as often as possible, which is that flow of energy coming through us and out into the world. So we're imagining something, we're thinking something, and we have these processes typically, especially when we're children, of creating all of that around us. And it does often get a little bit beat out of us and stomped down. So as someone who's inspired constantly, and I'm constantly creating on it's become a mission to help people find this as part of their daily routine, as something that they just wake up and understand themselves as a creative being. So as I'm creating for a project, I realized all these methods and things that I'm doing, actually I am more and more applying across the board, and it's making my life juicier. And that's what I want to share with you today. I broke it down into these 6 steps, and I'll use this for creating custom art for clients or for coaching for this channel. But determining, I think, or unraveling first is going to be important for people. Sometimes it'll be more important on a certain day. And I think certainly if right now you view yourself as not as creative as you're used to be, or not a creative person, or just wishing that you were more creative, I think these 6 steps will help. Because if you're more creative and the people around you are more creative, it's going to be a happier world. There's going to be so much more flow and more ease and more co-creators. There's going to be a life within you, and there'll be more people that want to join onto that. By sharing this information, and by you sharing how you enjoy being creative, and all of us becoming more healthy, and sharing the methods and practices that get us into flow, we are all going to level up. So it's definitely a worthy mission. Number 1, I think, importance is to get to the root of any lies that we have, and questions around who is an artist and why do we think that. So at what point did someone tell you that you weren't creative? Start asking yourself some questions. Did you love to sing, or did you love to draw, and there was a story created around that? Maybe you can't make your living as that, or someone told you, oh, you really shouldn't sing, or you just got busy with other things. We don't need to be a physical artist or someone who does that as a profession to be creative at all. As an artist, as someone who is designing their life and is the architect of their existence, that's extremely creative. It's really just taking that ownership back of what is intrinsically yours. Deep down, if you are questioning your creativity or wanting to uncover it, maybe just start thinking about why you think you're not creative or when maybe it happened. It might have to do with a story around I had kids and I had this job and I had a lack of time, or someone told me I wasn't good at it, or I didn't think I could make a living at it. And then over time, you don't even have that as part of your life, and it is important to you. Another thing to take into consideration is the impact that social media could have on you and looking outward all the time. So on social media, of course, your Instagrams, your YouTubes, you are watching creators. And a lot of times you might think, oh, that isn't me. They're creative, therefore I am not. And things being made and produced with AI and everyone kind of having this showing of their craft on social media can sometimes be daunting. So if when you get done with your session of social media, or you've been just consuming and you have a depleted dopamine and you're not feeling as good, that is another tap into what might be sucking your creative energy. So just be mindful of that, and you can try maybe limiting that or creating something with the time instead of watching it and feeling that comparison. Comparison is such an evil, right? If you're comparing to your past self, maybe you can use that as a healthier gauge. I was really happy when I was doing this. I want to bring that back. But otherwise, comparing to other people is just an impossible and futile waste of energy, because you aren't that person. You don't know what went into that. You don't know all the methods. And also the quickness of things on social media is going to make it seem like it's effortless for everyone. It's not a good place to go and compare yourself. There's your questions. There's your kind of deep dive. That's step one, looking at where did I get this story and uncovering a bit of you are a creative creature. Number two is going to be resetting our understanding of creativity. Embrace by definition that you are an artist, you are creative, you are human, and you're the architect of your life. You're fundamentally creative, and get into that energy, and you're really going to start to embody it. And it's really a reconstruction. You might have envisions that you do. We're going to get into how you start up your creative practices again. But number one is going to be calling out those lies and stories and looking at where you think you're not creative and how you define it. Number two is reset that. Be honest with yourself in all the ways you're creative in your day, in your work, in your job, in your schedule, and that intrinsically you are deeply creative. Three, let's determine what our art or gifts are. We are all very different, and often when we're comparing ourselves to others, or we see someone else and they're evoking that freedom and that energy, we want to be like that. We remember maybe when we were that free and when we were that flowing and creative, right? And therefore we think, oh, I need to do that. I don't know how many people, they'll go to an event and then they'll want to put on events, or they'll be by professional dancers and then they want to do dancing on social media. And that is awesome. That's called inspiration. And we all do have things we deeply love. Sometimes it's inspired by others. Obviously, we're all co-creating and leveling each other up. And then often we have these intrinsic gifts that when you unpack and remove everything around it, you can get to your deepest sense of joy. So ask yourself the question now, I'll ask myself, Jennifer, when are you most in flow and free? And right now what's coming to mind is dancing, just being on the dance floor, often in a beautiful situation with my friends, very freeing time. So I know that I need to dance more. And a lot of times it's movement, right? It can be yoga, it can be dancing with myself before bed, which I often do. That's one of my best expressions of being creative and just moving with my body. My mind is moving, my energy, there's very little thinking. There's just this enjoyment of my body and spirit. So think of some of what yours might be. And it could be while you're cooking. Your gift might be how to soothe someone's pain. Your gift might be how to arrange formulas so that it makes sense for someone's taxes. Your gifts might be really digging into the ingredients you have, and maybe you love to cook, you are a chef, maybe you're not, but that might be when you feel really amazing. It might be climbing mountains or hiking. So get down and really tap into what are my gifts? What are the gifts that I can share with people? And also, what are the gifts that I just love that make me feel better? Because both are going to help you be creative and help those around you be creative. Number 4, how can we bring all of that into our actions? Because it does often take that physicality of it to bring what comes through us into our minds, into our heart, which is our generator, and then our hands are the extension of our heart. So how can we bring that into all of our actions? This energy, this emotion that we're feeling when we are deeply creative and in flow. If you're an accounting wizard, how can you bring that understanding of solving things into your dance or into building a schedule or designing a meal, right? So what we're magic with and what we're very creative with, we can bring that energy into everything. And that's where we become really the wizards of our life, just making magic all over. It's incredible how that happens. So bring those actions into all of life, especially the things that you think are boring. That's our 4th step, is infusing our day with those energies. Number 5, and I love this, is mindfulness. So when we go on vacation, it's so easy to be mindful, right? We don't have all the mundane things that we're doing. We often have less anxiety. And there's newness. So it's really interesting. Oh my God, look at those flowers. Look at that waterfall. Wow, that dress you're wearing is amazing. You haven't even looked at your boyfriend or your wife in months. You don't remember anything of life because you weren't being mindful. So taking on a holiday type of approach is what I'd like you to try and what works really well for me. So sometimes I'll be in a funk. Sometimes I'll be with people that are in a funk. Sometimes things will just seem mundane and I want to make it magic. And I want to have that feeling coming through my body of when I am creative. So I'll start being really mindful. It might be a dreary day, but I'll look outside and I'll see a bird and just listen to it sing for a while. Or I'll look at my kids who are doing their little bantering really loud, and I'm realizing I'm being annoyed with it, which is so silly because they're awesome. And I'll just start watching them, and such a joy will come into my heart. Or I'll notice these beautiful objects on my shelf and realize and really sink into a memory of when I bought them or when they were given to me. Or I'll talk to a plant for a minute, or I'll be just that mindfulness of dropping into right now, this particular moment, and finding that magic really infuses everything else that's going on. I'll feel tension in my body go away. The next task I have to do or obstacle or solution I need to find suddenly just is easier. It has everything is relevant on that level. So when I'm finding magic and I'm noticing these little things or paying attention to the feelings or thoughts or visions that are coming through me, I'll know to reach out to a friend, or all of a sudden I'll get a solution to an issue that I was having earlier that has nothing to do with my mindfulness. I didn't think. So number 5 is really utilize mindfulness. Pick 3 things. The bank teller, you can tell when they're mindful. Someone helping us at the grocery store, when someone's engaged, right? They're more magic. There might be someone dancing on the dance floor, or someone in your meeting, a board meeting, that just has a liveliness to them, and it elevates the whole experience, and it makes everyone a little bit more on point and a little bit more mindful, because they're in that energy of creativity and being really present. So mindfulness is the fifth thing that I want to bring up, is extremely helpful to our creative process. And then for number 6, and this is the action part of it, I want us all to pick something that we want to work on, that we feel was taken away from us, that we haven't made time for, or maybe it was one of those lies someone told you that you can't make a living from drawing, or you're not a good singer, or whatever it is. Let's pick something that you remember or is bringing you some current joy and has that flow to it and that energy. Let's pick that thing, and then let's dedicate some time, and it doesn't have to be much. You might have to subtract something like scrolling on social media, or get up 5-10 minutes earlier, whatever the case. The 6th part is now really the thing that is going to build up this creative exercise. If we were exercising our biceps, for instance, or our mind, we would do memory games or curls, right? We just would. And so our creative powers are going to accelerate and become a normal practice if we train for them. So let's pick an outlet for the gift. Maybe you want to do a very special meal or have a party for your friends in a couple months. That kind of gives you a reason to start cooking or looking at recipes or gathering ingredients, right? And you have something to funnel towards. It's a little bit of having a destination or stop destinations on your journey is important. I have found, because it helps me create with purpose, and then I have a little bit more fuel, and then I will get up 5 minutes earlier. One of the things you could do would be to write. Maybe you want as a gift, or you want to submit to an article by such and such a date, an essay or a poem for a birthday, because you love to write. So you're going to get up 5 or 10 minutes early, and you're going to, maybe it's going to start just to get the wheels turning with some gratitudes, just writing. And then for 5 to 10 minutes every morning, you'll start to write for this goal along your journey. And maybe that's for yourself. Maybe it's to distribute at a birthday gathering. Maybe it's a gift for someone. Maybe it's for a magazine. What's another one we could do? An outlet could be that you want to learn to do handstands. So you feel especially powerful and creative when you're expressive with your body. And so you want more strength, and you've noticed that you haven't been working out and you haven't had that strength workout. So now you're going to start doing handstands. And maybe once a day you do that handstand, and then you dance for a little while. And that's going to get you ready for that vacation that you're going on, when you want to be strong and playing with your kids, right? So I think it's this number 6 is this 2-part, really fun, tangible, creative practice, which is finding some time. And I would say sometime every day or 5 days a week is better than once a week for an hour or 2, because you'll get in a bit of a flow. But if you can do something for 5 or 10 minutes a day, and then maybe you're drawing every morning, and then you can dedicate part of a day to that's just going to be exponential. And then you have a bit of a timeline, a bit of a point where this amazing creative energy is going to come to fruition in this form, and I'll be able to offer it to myself, to a loved one, to your community or tribe, to YouTube. And that really gets the energy of your creativity going. I like to do my new creative practices in the morning. When the kids were little and they got up early, I would get up like an hour and a half earlier. And it at first was murder, but it was the most blissful time. And I got in such a flow. No one needs you. And after a few days of being a little bit tired, you just are excited to get up because what you're working on is just coming through you. And it will, with practice, become so easeful. So I know this is when I'm happiest, when I'm feeling that flow and it's pouring through me and I'm offering that to the world, whether anyone's listening or not. It is that energetic feeling that I think all humans need. So by trying these 6 steps, I think you'll really come a long way in reawakening and evolving your creativity. So we have the first step, which is dissolving the blockages, asking yourself those questions, some of them lies, some of them stories. Then number 2, reconnecting with those gifts within you, rekindling those, looking at all the ways you actually are creative and the ways you want to be more creative. Then we're going to shake it up a little bit and embrace our imagination. How can I bring that into everything? Because that's that's the goal, is to make a whole lifestyle that is created with your imagination and is actually happening. And it is incredible. I promise you. And then we're going to be mindful of the amazing artistry all around that. Being creative instead of watching people being creative, it can be inspiring, but we're going to be very mindful and see how every single thing is actually art, noticing the flowers, the big things and the small things, and being really present with that. And that kind of like grows that magic when we're in moods of blah or mundane. And then number 6, let's cultivate our evolution, our creative evolution. Let's focus on something that we want to grow, and that can be our writing, cooking, exercise, how we feel. It can be studying something that helps us feel creative. Any of these things, we're going to dedicate some time to that, and then we're going to set a goal for how we are going to bring some of that to fruition, either in a story or a painting or party or a speech for a meeting. Any of these things, we're going to have something to work towards, which is purpose, right? We like to have, as humans, we like to have a reason that this is being applied. So pick some things and dedicate a little bit of time. Use your mindfulness throughout the day. Embrace that you are an incredibly creative being and you are the architect of your reality. I know this, I feel this, and I believe this for you. And bring all of that together. And in the beginning, it might seem a bit uncomfortable. You will get into the swing of things, I know it. Let me know if there's any of these steps that I can bring more clarity to. I'm really excited for all of our evolution and for more co-creation and ease in this world. Be well.